Hello and welcome back to Mac at the Movies. Today I'm bringing you another weekly movie review with the film No Man of God. This film was released August 27th, 2021 by Company X and directed by Amber Seale. She had also directed No Light and No Land Anywhere, as well as the film How to Cheat. This film stars Elijah Wood as FBI agent Bill Hagmaier, Luke Kirby as the infamous Ted Bundy, Aleska Palladino as Carolyn Lieberman, and Robert Patrick as Roger Depew. This film follows, again, FBI investigator Bill Hagmaier as he finds a way to essentially befriend serial killer Ted Bundy to try and find out anything he can about his murders and his backstory, things like that. But he does it in a very unique way that nobody else has tried, and that is to not ask him about it. What he wants to know is his mindset and his thought process, but not just his, but others who they're trying to find on FBI Most Wanted lists, other serial killers, so they can use maybe that thought process to find other people, to find, to help find missing people, different things like that. Ted definitely does not take it lightly at first. They're both very suspect of one another. Ted doesn't necessarily trust Bill. Bill just assumes that Ted's going to do what Ted's going to do and what he always did, and that is just make things up, make a mockery and a circus out of the whole, time they spend together. But you start to kind of find out that these two get along more than, other previous FBI agents. But Ted still tries to poke and prod him throughout the film, trying to get his thought process on what he thinks as an FBI agent Ted would do if he broke out one day, or, if he thinks that Ted is guilty. Ted going throughout the film, discussing about how everyone thinks that he's insane, but he's really the only sane person in this whole investigation. And to try and separate the criminal mindset of being crazy versus being sane, it's a very interesting look at all of this and, that process. And I'm sure a lot of the script came from bits and pieces, I'm sure. A lot of it has to be placed together for story, but bits and pieces came from, actual tape recordings to kind of get an idea of what those conversations were like and how they went. Of course, Ted tried to place blame in other areas, but you still start to get more and more of that sort of human that Ted that he was, but you also see that there's something much deeper, much darker with him. And he sort of talks about that, or at least the character Luke Kirby, the actor, portrays Ted Bundy in that way, and does an amazing job, in my opinion. I really liked Elijah Wood in this film. I like how they didn't just go with some nobody, but it's somebody we've seen in so many other films that has had their name at the top of the bill, playing such a small role or a small character in the grand scheme of things. But it's, still, it's a fantastic movie. I like how you got the real expressions of Ted Bundy, and if you've ever seen old interviews or anything of the kind, you saw that Ted had very unique expressions that seemed very commonplace, but with a bit of an evil twist to them. I really liked how this film really kind of brought all that in. There was one moment in the film that I kind of got a chuckle, and it's something else I'm going to talk about here in a minute. But there was a moment where Elijah Wood's character, Bill Hagmaier, is in his car driving down the road, listening to some of the Bundy tapes, things like that. He has his windows down, and this is back in the 80s. He has his windows down, getting that fresh cross breeze in the car. As a woman pulls up in the car next to him, he's listening to a tape of a man discussing the insides and out of a psychopath, basically. And you just see her like look over, like very confused and shocked that somebody is openingly listening to this. And he just sort of rolls up the window, and it's a very awkward moment, but it leaves you pause for at least a momentary laugh, and then brings you back into the reality of that. Another thing the one main thing I didn't like about the film, let's stop and go to that real quick. There were a few moments and it had to be done for the film. It had to be done for, cinematic whatnot. But there were moments of conversation between Bill and Ted, no pun intended, but between those two characters that where maybe there was a lot of conflict in a story or something was going on, and there was just like, I feel like in the reality of that moment in that existence of life there, I think it would have just been a moment where Ted was talking and told a very in-depth story in a very uncomfortable setting, but you have like a visual representation where Elijah Wood is like expressing his internal conflict with what's being told to him, I guess, so you can visually see what he's going through. I don't know if I was necessarily drawn by that. I think I would have much rather have seen a more emotional breakdown of the character of Bill, as well as an understanding from Ted about like an understanding of like, okay, what I am expressing to him, what I am telling him, I'm now clicking and seeing where something was wrong. And I wasn't a big fan of that. And there was a bit of a push, in my opinion, to have a presence of just on set, just a female presence. Like you have moments where you think that, okay, there's a woman coming to the camera, in such a way you think that there's going to be an interaction between maybe Bill and that woman, or something's going to happen there. And then it just doesn't. There's no context to why that particular woman's in the scene or what's going on. It's not like she's just an extra. It's almost like there is a feminine motive. Like it's sort of like they were ghosts in the jail, and every now and again you would see one act a certain way, and it took me out of the place in the film. I do realize that this was directed by a female director, and when I was going back and looking at some of the interviews about the film, they had talked about how they were trying to push a more feminine drive, or not a feminine drive, but a feminine, like a strong drive to show a presence of femininity in the film, which cool, I'm down for. But it just seemed forced more than natural in the film. And that was my only gripe about it, is that some of these characters didn't have a direct course in the film, and it just seemed out of place. All in all, though, I did struggle with the rating of this film. I'm gonna have to say I have to go with a strong, heavy 3 out of 5 stars for this film. I feel like there was a lot left to be desired. And I know some of it you get from it being inspired by true events, so you can't sway one way or the other. You can only do so much for entertainment value without taking away from the actual story. But all in all, I mean, I still think it's a really good movie. I definitely plan to revisit it. Next to this, I really enjoyed that. I can't remember the name of it, but there's the Netflix film with Zac Efron. Just an amazing film. I really enjoyed that film, but I feel like the character Luke Kirby portrayed as Ted Bundy was so real. It was so eerily real, and you had some outbursts and some actions and different things like that just brought him to life in a very, it was a kind of a creepy way at times. But all in all, a great movie. I definitely say check it out. Maybe even do a double feature with that. It was so much fun. I've seen documentaries on the man. I've seen old biopics on him, and it's definitely an interesting look into what is an American Psycho. It's next level. I remember doing a college presentation on him, and it just very, very interesting. But anyway, if any of y'all have seen the film, what did you think of it? Did you love it or hate it? Could you have just done without it? You think all the other portrayals are all we needed in this world? And frankly, we didn't even need that. I don't know. Tell me what you thought in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash that thumbs up, subscribe, do whatever you want. Thank you for stopping by. I always enjoy seeing when people interact with the video and going back and forth with that. So always keep that up. Always be good to one another, and I'll see you next time. Bye.